But I think the main things is at the end of the day, volleyball is volleyball. It's in the same 9x9 court, and the rules are the same. So we. Is that on the back of your shirt?
Yeah, it's on the back of the shirt.
Muted. A little free shout out for you. And it doesn't matter who's on the other side of the net. You need to still execute to the best of your ability if you want a chance to win.
Wow, what a start.
Wow.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. This is the 81 square meters of the best volleyball coverage on the internet, the 9x9, episode 157. It is Tuesday, Tuesday, May 20th, 2025. My name's Rob St. Clair, live from Chicago. That is Everett Delorme, live from Toronto.
What up?
You were just treated to a work of art courtesy of our very good friend Ronnie Cuban Spike.
Put it up in the Louvre, man. Put it up in the Louvre.
Goodness.
I got tagged on that today in Discord, and immediately as soon as watching it, I was just like, Rob, we need to start the show with this.
We have to start the show with this. So if you're listening on our audio format and only heard a randomly like sped up song and didn't get to watch the little meme video just now, you have to go watch it on YouTube to make sure you caught that. That was fabulous. Thank you to Ronnie Cuban Spike for putting that together, and it's a good promo for the Volleyball Source Discord, which you all should join as we move into national team season ever, because that's what it is. The club season is officially over. It is done.
Yeah, this is go time.
It's go time.
This is our playoffs, if you will, over the next few months as we jump into national season. Let's be honest, no one gives a shit about volleyball, and even less people give a shit about club volleyball. So thank you very much for all of the people out there who wade through club volleyball season with us to get to what everyone cares about the most, and that is national team season. But before we do that, Rob, there's a few things that we need to wrap up. This will not be a national team. This will not be a national team episode. So Don't get your hopes up too high. All you people who only watch Team USA or Japan or Canada, whatever it is, you can gain a little reconnaissance for next week once we get things going actually.
That's right. This is our last club volleyball related episode of the year. We will talk a little bit at the very end of the show about our plans for national team season and what you all can expect. But not a lot, but some very important things to talk about before we get there. First and foremost, they finally did it. Sir Sicoma Monini Perugia, or whatever their name happens to be in a given year in a given tournament, Perugia has finally won their first CEV Champions League title. They went to Poland over the weekend. They played one incredibly boring match. They beat Halkbank in 3-dong in the semifinals.
I wanted more from that one. Me much too. More.
But then they played an all-timer, a crazy five-setter that they almost got reverse swept in, but they held on to take down Zavierce in 5, and they take home the biggest trophy of them all. This psychopath of a man, Gino Circi, has finally, after all these years, won.
All these years.
It's kind of crazy, Everett, that after everything that Perugia has done under Circi's ownership, they have never won a CEV Champions League until now.
It is a little bit crazy, right? They got their first silver in 2017, and that's when they announced, "Hey, Leon is coming." Right? Like that's. Or no, wait. They announced in 2018 that he was coming, but still, they got their first silver in 2017, and everyone thought that this was going to be a team to be reckoned with for quite a while, right? They went out and got Leon at the end of 2018, when they got that bronze, beat Zaxa on the bronze medal game, and announced, "Hey, we got the best player in the world." And even though he did everything into his power to create a super team, they were never able to do it. But finally, this year, they were able to get it done. Once again, no Trentino in sight, so the curse is still well and alive. They don't play each other in finals. It's wild, but you know what? I said on last week's show that I was picking Yashemsky because I didn't want Perugia to win. But I'm actually happy that they won. I'm happy that they've won something legitimate this year. Because like what did they win the Supercopa and then nothing else? Oh no, they didn't even win the Supercopa this year.
They may have won the Supercopa. I don't remember because it's the least significant thing. They did win the Club World Championship, I'm pretty sure.
No, they didn't.
Let me look.
Sada Cruzeiro beat
You're
Trentino
right.
in the finals of the Club World Championships.
I'm thinking of last year where they won. Let's see. Yes, Perugia did win the Super Cup for whatever that is worth. But yeah, the disappointment in the Coppa Italia, the disappointment getting reverse swept in the semis of the Scudetto, eventually taking third. But the records will show that Perugia did win the 2025 CEV Champions League. So
yeah,
and like people
are fully deserved too.
Yes, absolutely. And we make a lot of fun of Gino Circi because he's a crazy character and he, all his antics as the owner of Perugia are well documented. But I think something that we've also been consistent about is that a guy like him is extremely good for volleyball. A guy with the
100%.
ability to gain significant amounts of resources and the willingness to throw that money at volleyball is great for everybody. And we need more
absolutely
people like Gino Circi.
100%. Like you can't say that he hasn't done everything in his ability to try to go out and win. Every sport has these teams that you have an eccentric owner who tries to do everything to get his team to win, or you have these fan bases who are rabid and they go all out. Like we call him the Jerry Jones of volleyball all the times, but perfect. Like let's be honest, Perugia is way more relevant than the Dallas Cowboys have been like in my entire life, right? All those Dallas Cowboy fans are really pumped up about what they did in the 90s. You're like the Maple Leafs fans, like you guys are absolutely delusional. Whereas Perugia fans, you know what? This team actually has won and actually has put together what many would call the best teams in volleyball multiple times and just haven't been able to get it done. So I'm glad that they were able to get it done. It was a little close there in that final match, but you could tell. I really like the way that they came out in that for a fifth set. It was really aggressive. Like Bentara served that ace right off the bat, and you could tell that they were going for it. There was no more trepidation, and I hope that this kind of opens some things up for them. I really do. I know that there's kind of some thoughts about what that roster is going to look like next year. It's going to be interesting to see what kind of comes out now that this match is done, and we're going to actually get some proper announcements on this type of thing. But yeah, it was a long time coming, and it's kind of wild that they were finally able to do it without Leon, despite all of Leon's success this year. So yeah, it was interesting, but you know what? They managed to get it done.
They did. You could argue that Perugia won a weak Champions League with no Russian teams and with the other two Italian teams being Milano and Monza. You could argue that, but it doesn't matter at the end of the day. They won the CEV Champions League. And I want to talk about some of these matches a little bit because the final, the five-setter over Zavierce was legitimately insanely compelling. I thought that Zavierce, after having played a five-setter the day before, would come in with very little chance on fatigue alone. And through the first two sets, that's kind of what it looked like. Then in classic Zavierce fashion, they made major changes in set three, similar to what they did on Saturday against JSW and their reverse sweep win there. And Perugia ended up on their heels. And I thought that I kind of thought that what many of us thought that in the fifth set, was this going to be another chapter in a Perugia meltdown story? And it was anything but that. They really dominated that fifth set. They made every play from the baseline. They made every play on defense. They made every play in transition offense. They were really outstanding.
The way Gianelli was setting Lozère in transition was unbelievable.
So that's something that I love, the confidence to go to the middle in the fifth set still.
I think like Gianelli plays his best when he's playing with the middles, right? Agreed. And I kind of think that's maybe one of the issues with the Italian team, and this is kind of like watching the match back. I think that might be one of the issues with the Italian national team is that the middles aren't necessarily dynamic enough to get Gianelli going. And I find that's kind of where he goes to be able to get some energy. Like his connection with Lozère has been so fun to watch. And that's really becoming one of those dynamic, like setter middle blocker connections that we've seen in a different way than like a DeCecco Simone. or like a Blizalchin and Yeze type of vibe. But they came out and were really gunning for it. Plotnitsky hit a few crazy serves. He had one line shot that just snuck it in outside down the line.
That was point 14. That disgusting like outside shoulder line swing, like just gorgeous. Ishikawa was really good. Bentara, who you mentioned, was really good. Like the immediate service pressure at the beginning of the set.
It was just like their entire team was showing up in the way that we expected Perugia to do. And at the same time, they only made 3 unforced errors throughout the entire match. So they were super efficient. And even then, all of those came from Yuki, who got a lot of volume, actually 47 attempts for Ishikawa. But this was Perugia playing Perugia. Like this was Perugia being Perugia. And it's interesting to me, Rob, actually on the other side of the net, that all year we talked about, Warszaw's depth and how Zawiercie was really good on the high end. And yet their depth is kind of what showed them the way. In the first match against Isemski, Russell's struggling, and then they brought in Patrick Vaba, and I thought Vaba was amazing in that semifinal. We can talk about it a little bit later. And then this final, they bring in Kyle Ensing, and he makes a massive impact and really helps this team push to that fifth set. So it's really interesting to see how Zawiercie's depth down the stretch really did it for them.
It did. It got them to the Plusliga final after those 2 crazy comebacks, needing Waba and Ensing to take down Warszawa. It very much got them to the Champions League final, like the changes you mentioned to reverse sweep JSW, which we can talk about in a minute. But I think this is a conversation that we can save a bit more for talking about the event as a whole and what the hell the Polish Federation was thinking in the way that this was scheduled, and kind of a bigger conversation about the entire back half of the season. But I want to give Zawiercie all the credit in the world, man. It might feel pain. Like I became their fan this year. I legitimately really loved watching this team. I was rooting for them in all of their competitions. It kind of feels like a bummer because of the 4 things they played. They took second place in 3 of them: Polish Cup, Plusliga, and Champions League. They did win the Super Cup at the beginning of the year, but I honestly think that no other team could have even come close to competing in the circumstances that they did. Playing a 5-setter 24, like less than 24 hours before, or it was just over 24 hours before, when their opponent had a full additional day of rest, dealing with all the injuries that they did. Aaron Russell, Everett, had knee surgery today.
Really?
He had knee surgery today in Katowice. Like that was an issue that I don't think anybody really understood.
No, absolutely not.
Mateusz Bieniek was walking around like a zombie. He was clearly a broken player, and he was taking the summer off. Bartosz Kwolek carried a massive load that he probably wouldn't normally have to carry. Butryn obviously was hurt for the back half of the Plusliga season. He actually came in and contributed quite a bit in the
that
semis and the
semifinals,
final,
especially.
Totally. Like this Zawiercie team was broken, really, really broken, and still was able to get to the 5th set in the Champions League final against a team with an additional day of rest that they didn't have. And I think they deserve a lot of credit, especially for those depth pieces that we didn't necessarily expect.
Not to mention they're missing Glider too, who's like a huge emotional piece. Like it's really too bad. And I think Zawiercie kind of has the potential to be one of the next big teams, kind of in the same like the way of Azaxa, because they're just there. They're on the cuff. Like they've been there. Like what they were in the Plusliga finals last year. Same thing with this year. Now they're in the CEV Champions League finals. It's just they're right there on the cusp, and they haven't won that big one just yet. But you can kind of feel that it's coming, and I love that. Just in talking to people over the years, I love the vibe that Zawiercie gives me. Everyone who's surrounded by that club, and there's one person in particular that I know who won a Champions League while working with Zaxa, and yet he says that his favorite experience and his best experience was always working with Zawiercie.
Wow.
So I'm very interested to see what this team continues to do, because I think they just do things in the right way. It wasn't enough on this occasion. You're missing a few pieces, and you're up against a fantastic team who played really well as well. Played really well when they needed to. They did have a little bit of that Perugia lull. there in the middle. But yeah, hats off to Zavierci. Truly one of the best clubs in the world. I think you can easily call them a top 5 club in the world right now. And yeah, I'm excited to see what's next for this club.
Yeah, I will definitely continue to be a fan of theirs. I mean, I gravitated towards them this year because they had 2 Americans, but then watching them in the crowd and the energy they brought and the consistently good level and just like getting the treat of really getting to break down and watch Miguel Tavares set and watching Luke Perry play the libero position. I don't think it's that ridiculous to say, Everett, what I'm about to say, and I'll stand by it. Luke Perry is the best libero on the planet right now.
You're going to put him over Shoji, eh?
I am.
Eric.
Shoji's the best receiver on the planet and has been that for probably close to the last 10 years. But with kind of the, Zhenya Grebennikov has held that honor for a very long time. I mean, we haven't seen him much playing in Russia, but as of right this second, I'm going to put it out there, and we're not going to see Australia much this summer. Luke Perry, to me, is the best libero on the planet right now. He was
because you're
so
also not
good.
Watching Zhenya.
Right, I'm not watching him right now. Maybe if we see him play unbelievable for France this summer, if he plays, I might turn on this. But right now, what I have seen from Luke Perry looks to me like the best libero on the planet. He is awesome. I'm
going to give him number 2. You have to knock off Zhenya, and I have to see some actual downward trend. And the unfortunate part is Zhenya is in Russia, and we don't watch him.
Right.
We should ask that. We should ask that too, because I know there's plenty of people within our community who do watch the Russian league. We should ask them how his performance has been, or we're going to definitely get to see him this summer at the VNL and the World Championships. But yeah, I still give it to Zhenya number 1, but I'm comfortable giving Perry number 2. Sure,
he was really good. He set a middle ball. I think it was in the semis. His out of system setting was really awesome. Defense, reception, and then the leadership, like the glue that he was incredibly evident to me. I thought he was really incredible to watch. So hats off to Zavierci. I hope that they can feel really good about the performances that they put up this season with the circumstances, but the same goes for Perugia, man. I didn't know if they could deliver in the moment. They absolutely did. And Wasim Bentara, to me, may have stood out even the most. Like we've always known about the explosiveness. I mentioned that when I was so excited that Perugia brought him in before last year, that I thought he would be a really good fit. But the consistency, especially out of system, the range, and then just delivering in the moment was something we hadn't seen from him on a stage this big, because he's from Tunisia. He was playing on a mid-tier Polish team before he came to Perugia, and he did not win the MVP of this tournament, which we can talk about in a minute, but I think he should have. 22 points on 19 for 36 with 3 errors only, blocked 3 times, 0 unforced errors, crazy high efficiency. This is the final only.
Just the final, okay.
He was, I mean, they played Hawkbank, who is a team full of stooges. He dropped 15 in that match on good numbers, but then the serving as well, the 2 aces in the 5th. I think he elevated himself to an additional level based on this accomplishment and this performance on a stage that he hadn't been to yet, to me, and I was really impressed.
Yeah, I was really questioning the move to bring him in originally, just because he had no championship pedigree and he had no ability to prove that he was able to get it done in those big moments. And like, there was plenty of times like as I said, like he opened up that 5th set with a big ace. Like he had a couple of big swings in that 5th set. Like he hit one ball down the line where Gianelli just gave him a perfect isolation, and just on a really quick ball in transition. That was just like watching volumetrics gave me a little shiver. But yeah, no, I it's thinking about it now, like, is there after Namir, there's obviously a big drop off in terms of like the next best opposite, but I think Bentara has to be in that conversation without a doubt. Without a doubt, it's too bad that we don't get to see him at the national team level. Is he even considered Tunisian anymore?
So he hasn't played for the Tunisian national team since the 2021 Olympics. His mother is Polish. He speaks fluent Polish. The Polish fan base has had their eyes on him, but like you can't renationalize him and Leon and have him play on the same team. So I don't know how that's going to go.
But I've heard something about how like it's potentially going to say that like if a player's been nationalized for so many years, like they don't
count anymore.
Yeah.
There's like a half-life on that. I mean, maybe that's a conversation for another time. But like,
Hey,
I think
Bentara, you want to be Canadian?
Oh my God, could
come,
you imagine?
you want to come. Still to this day, I'm still mad that our government turned away Robert Landy
Simone.
Simone. And I mean, like, there's no ways. Like, if you know
Hey,
anything about like,
it's not national team season yet. We can talk about that later. I like that you talked about like global opposites and where you rank them, because kind of like when we were talking about Addis Lagumja 1 or 2 episodes ago, where he's kind of an old school opposite trying to play modern volleyball. The opposite position in modern volleyball is different. It's not what it is on the women's side, and it's not what it was 10 or 15 years ago. So it makes it harder to kind of rank or evaluate like the global pool of them. I mean, Namir has to be number 1 just on the volume that he's put up in so many different places, but Bentara's raw explosiveness is
but he's more than just that now
to me. He is. He absolutely is. But like other guys have, like, he's so different than Rick Litsky, who he replaced at Perugia, to me, because like a lot of guys can have the technical ability, but you can't teach the pure explosiveness that Bentara has. And now
I mean, he
has the experience of having delivered in a huge match. So,
but his explosiveness is really what makes him ability to play at this level,
right,
in this new style of game, right? Because like, if I'm thinking back to that Gianelli ball that he ran him in transition in that 5th set, like that's such a quick set. It doesn't even crest over the height of the antenna. Like Rich Licky can maybe hit that ball, but like not with the same ability as Bentara. Lagumja definitely can't hit that ball.
Definitely
right.
not.
Like there's no way that he has his ability to get to his feet there and hit that ball dynamic, and his explosiveness, and he doesn't have the best arm, but it's decent enough that he's able to make some contacts, and I mean, also he does benefit from playing with Gianelli, right? Like let's be honest, that part of his star factor is the fact that he plays on this team. You know, he was a point machine when was with Stalnissa, but it's not to the same extent. Like he's getting much different looks now than he was when he was playing in the Plusliga. But yeah, his growth as a player over the years, from just breaking out in the Plusliga and now dominating and being, you know, both with last year a Scudetto champion and this year a Champions League champion, you'd have to say he's, like who else would you like? Matt Anderson when he plays on the opposite on like the rare occasion, but like I don't even know, like there's no one who really comes to mind who is like head and shoulders better than Bentara, other than Namir.
I agree with you. Let's talk about some of the semifinals, as I put Yashemsky Vengil up on the screen. They did win the bronze medal match. They took down Halkbank Ankara. That's not surprising. Halkbank, I mean, they earned their spot here. They won 2 golden sets, but they did not put forward a super good effort in this Final Four. This is the end of an era for Yashemsky. Tomasz Fornal is out. Norbert Huber is out. Fornal posted kind of a goodbye on Instagram today, saying goodbye to Yashemsky's club, and he was terrific in both matches in the Final Four. I mean, I like to make fun of Fornal because he annoys me to watch sometimes, and sometimes he thinks better of himself than maybe I do. But he was their best player this weekend. He got to the Dream Team. All right, great. JSW completely choked away that semifinal. They completely choked away that semifinal against Zawiercie. And Everett, what to you does that do for to end this chapter of this franchise? Because I think we know they're taking a bit of a step back next year. What did that loss in the semifinal tell you about this team and this club?
The way that they did it was very soft. I like that's the only way that I can put it. Like especially the way that I don't know. This is the team that had the best offense throughout the regular season, the Plusliga, and was just cooking all year long. And then everything just kind of unraveled. And I'm almost wondering if there was something else. Not almost wondering. Like I want to know what else was going on, kind of behind the scenes. Like I want to know the other stories, because it just seems like especially at the beginning of the year when they won they didn't win the Polish Cup or the Super Cup. They won the Polish Cup.
Correct.
But still, like they, you know, all throughout the year, it just seemed like they were cooking. And then I think they just kind of let it go off the handle. Like, it seemed to me like it was a little bit more of a mental thing. You know, you went from having the best offense with the best efficiency throughout the year to not being to score for any, like, no one else but Fornal can score. Like Kaczmarek, like, what's he, like 10 for 30 in this match? Sorry, 11 for 30 in this match
in the semifinal. Horrible.
Like,
he hit balls straight out of bounds, unforced against one-on-ones multiple times.
You
really
know, like
hands.
you start Timothy Carl, who's been all right all year, but he's still not great. 9 for 28 and makes 5 serving errors at the same time. You bring in Vincentine, who at times looks great, and then other times when, you know, you're trailing in late in the 5th and he's blowing serves like into the scoreboard, like not into the scoreboard, but into the boards at the back. It was like wild. Like, it just seemed like there was something weird going on with that team. It really comes back to me when I remember how they watched Jurczyk, like how they treated Jurczyk when he came in, and
just that body language.
It just rubbed me the wrong way, and I kind of saw a little more of it in this one. Like, there was a weird moment in the 5th set too, where Piszczek just watched a ball fall beside him, and he tried to call it out, and he was like 2.5 meters inside from the attack line. Like, there was no way there was anything but like orange around him, like or whatever, red, like whatever the Champions League court was. Like, there was just so many moments for me where, like, this team, when things are cooking and when things are good, things are great. But then as soon as there's one little thing, they just start getting nippy. Like, the only thing that I can think of is when I used to coach 13-year-old girls and they would just get mad at each other half the time. Like, I'm not even kidding. And like, I'm not even trying to call them girls in like in an insulting way, but it's just the only reference point I have is like these 13-year-old children that I used to coach. Like, and it's the same way that like one thing goes off and they just start like giving each other like little looks across the court. It's like, what's going on? Just get it together.
That's a pretty good description of it. And it is hard to put a finger on, but it's just like something about their body language and their chemistry was just not that of a Champions League winning team. I think it wouldn't have really felt right to me if they had been able to win this tournament. And they didn't. And again, Zawiercie deserves a massive amount of credit. That comeback, like, few teams could dig as deep as Zawiercie had to, like pulling Karo Butrin back into action for the first time in like 3 weeks, and then pulling Patrick Waba, who has proved to be a complete X factor off the bench many times this season.
Waba was huge in the 5th set.
Amazing. Like, he was amazing.
Waba was huge. Like, he had a few great swings. Like, they went to him, they were down 14-13, and it was a ball off the net, and Waba went over top of Toniuti to get 14-14. And then like a few points later, he serves an overpass that gets them the advantage. He made a massive dig earlier on in that. Like, he made plays consistently all the way down the stretch, and like in ways that he didn't. And at the same time, like, you have the Polish and Irvin Ingapeth and Bartosz Królek. And after watching,
he was awesome too, man. So
you know,
good.
Like, I was able to rewatch. Sam had a bachelorette party to go to, a bachelorette dinner to go to last night, and I got to sit back and watch the games that I missed over the weekend. And like, just watching Królek, the way he plays, like, I think Królek should be P2 for Poland this year. I think you're like in a world championship final,
Everett,
right now, to me, I would go Leon and I would go Królek.
He didn't even get called to the long list for VNL.
I know.
It's crazy. Well, you're right. I mean, this is not a player that Bartosz Królek is not a player to shoulder an entire team's offensive load, and that is exactly what he did in that semifinal, down 2-0. That was really a heroic effort. Luke Perry, incredible. Miguel Tavares, incredible. Mateusz Bieniek was a warrior. I thought Miłosz Zniszczol played an awesome role as the third middle off the bench. Just did his job. It really, really impressive grit and just like a level of chemistry and passion and ability to dig deep that their opponent Jastrzębski just absolutely did not have on the eye test, on the court, like whatever it was. And maybe ever it's just as simple as it's just time for this era to end and time for these pieces to break apart and go their separate ways, because they did achieve a lot the last couple of years. They won, I think, 3 Plus Ligas. They got to the Champions League final a few times, but maybe it's just time to move on. It just wasn't really working anymore. I don't know.
To me, when I watch these two teams, because in both cases you don't have like one singular person who's like the go-to or like the leader. Like it's really done by the lion's share. But I look at Zavierce and there's so many people who are willing to be leaders, right? Like Bieniek, we've talked about him multiple times that when they're down, Tavares goes to him. Like he serves great, he blocks great, he swings great. Like in gut check time, you go to Bieniek. Same thing with Yuri Glider. Like Aaron Russell knows how to step up. Patrick Vauba, like Tavares, like each and every single one of those guys stepped up and was leaders in their own ways when they needed to be. Whereas when you look at Yashemski's side, and this is where, you know, I think that there's so much to be said about the talent of Tomáš Fornal, but there's also a lot to be said about just his general attitude of things. And I think that's kind of what permeates throughout the rest of the team. And I would look to someone like a Ben Toniutti, who's, you know, an older, more veteran player. He's an Olympic champion, to kind of step in and right the culture over there. But to me, that doesn't seem to be what happened. But this is a team that, like I said earlier, when things were great, things were fantastic. But as soon as things started going bad, it was off. And just no one was really able to step up and be that leader. I think Kaczmarek would try to be, but I think that sometimes he's just like a little too goofy.
And he's just also not quite that player either.
No,
like Fornal is the player, but his attitude is nowhere close to inspiring leadership or confidence. So there just has to be something else there. And wherever all these players go next, I mean, we wish them the best of luck, but this was a great opportunity that they had, and they were up 2-0 in that semifinal, and they blew it. I do want to send best wishes to Norbert Huber too, because he took a ball hard right in the eye in set number 4 of that semifinal. Like got a ball stuff blocked off Kaczmarek that just hit him right in the eye, and he left the game and didn't play just out of as a precaution against Halkbank. So hope he's doing well enough. So that was a little bit scary for the moment when it happened, but I don't know, man. JSW, it was a good era that they've just kind of wrapped up just now, but I think there are a lot of questions like what could have been if one or two more things would have been, I don't know, connected in the culture a little bit more differently.
100%. It does seem that way in terms of men's volleyball, though, that there hasn't been one team who's really been able to dominate at all levels. Like someone is always not doing great somewhere.
And I mean, a lot of parity this year.
But also just in general too, right? Like just over the past number of years, like we're seeing kind of the same teams, but you know, in the Superliga, we've seen how many different teams win in the past 5 years, like 3 different teams: Perugia, Lube, Perugia, and Trentino. So like there's been some parity over there. Same thing with the Plusliga. Like you've now seen Lublin, who's like a different team other than just the Skrozoks and Yashemski, but like both Warszawa and Zawiercie are knocking on the door. So there's a lot of good things happening right now in club volleyball. Part of me selfishly wishes that Russia would come back too. Like if we had Russia back in the fold in the Champions League, oh man, add 3 Russian teams in this, woo! Especially with the way that the Turkish teams are loading up next year, man, that would make things fun.
Definitely would make Champions League more compelling. Let's talk about something that we normally get pissed off about after every major event. It's the Dream Team. I'll read it down and then we can discuss it. The setter and the MVP were Simone Gianelli from Perugia. The outside hitters were Ole Plotnitsky of Perugia and Tomáš Fornal of Yashemski. The opposite was Wasim Bentara from Perugia. The middles were Anton Brema from JSW, Mateusz Bieniek from Zawiercie. The libero was Luke Perry from Zawiercie. I personally like this Dream Team with the exception of the MVP pick. I would have given it to Bentara if it were up to me.
Yeah, I actually don't have any issues with this. Like, I could see it going to Bentara, but I'm also perfectly fine with it going to Gianelli. You know, I think that this is actually one for once that I can't complain about at all. Right? Like this is an all-star list that I can't complain about at all.
Perry was an absolute no-brainer. There was no other libero that was close. Same with Fornal. I think the other left side could have been Plotnitsky or Yuki Ishikawa. I mean, Yuki Ishikawa was really good in these finals. Really, really good. 20 points on crazy high volume, like you said, in the final. He was good against Halkbank, but then again, so was everybody. That was an effortless win for them. So that could have gone either way. If you wanted to like name Gianelli the MVP and then like name Miguel Tavares as the best setter, I would have been okay with that. Then the middles, I mean, it's pretty crazy how good Agustin Loser was. I mean, I think he put up a Landy line in the final. Let me double check that. 11 points on 10 attempts, 6 for 10 with 5 blocks for 11 points. So
5 blocks.
Landy line with that, and didn't even make the dream team, but I can't argue that much because like Anton Brema was a machine. The first part of the semifinal, and then Bieniek was like the heart and soul. So I don't mind either of those.
It's also one of those things too, where this is like clearly one of those like, hey, we're gonna give like 3 to the first place teams, like like it's
fair enough.
Almost like it's almost set, and I don't have any issues with any of this, to be honest. I think all of this is good.
It is good that the CEV immediately course corrected after the debacle from the women's.
But once again, like.
Crowdsourced.
Why is it different? Like, why is that? It shouldn't be different at all.
I just think that they realized after the women's one that it was so bad that they simply couldn't do that again. That's what I would have done, because the crowd voted thing for the women's dream team was a total disaster. So this is good. Yeah. This is a lot more representative. All right, let's talk about the event as a whole. First of all, Poland, one of probably the best event host in international volleyball. The crowds for 3 of the 4 matches were outstanding, especially the final. I think they sold out. They put 10,800 people in there. Polish Federation. I have some questions to ask the Polish Federation. We're not going to get any answers, but we need to discuss some of these things. Everett, do you agree that the goal of a national volleyball governing body is to put the sport and its country in the best position to be successful and grow? Does that sound like the right mission statement?
Yeah, it should.
So you know what you should not do? You should not schedule a Champions League final such that your 2 teams are going to get 1 day less rest than the 2 teams from outside of your country in the biggest tournament of the year that you're playing on home soil. That scheduling was the Polish Federation's choice to play the 2 semifinals on different days and have the Polish teams play on Saturday with Halkbank and Perugia playing on Friday. That was up to the Federation. That decision makes no sense.
Yes and no. Yes and no. That is a Federation choice, yes. But the people who are paying the Federation, that's their more choice. Polstat is like one of the biggest, and this is just going to be my guess on how this happened. First and foremost, they wanted tickets for all the matches, right? They wanted tickets. It
worked out very well for them on Friday. Nobody went to that game because no Polish teams were playing.
This is once again, this is what I'm guessing happened. First of all, they wanted tickets to be sold for all 3 of the matches. That's number 1. Number 2, that Saturday spot, like that Saturday slot for Polstat, like that Saturday night slot it's a little bit of their hockey night in Canada. It's a little bit of the Monday night football. It is the known slot for volleyball in Poland.
The Saturday afternoon, I get it.
So especially when you have 2 Polish teams, like that's what you want to be able to put in that slot. Now, I don't see why they just didn't play the first semifinal much earlier in the day, right? Especially because like we know that Poland has like the 3 time slots. Why didn't they just play that why didn't they play the first semifinal in the first slot of the day? Or why didn't they just double up? That to me is the biggest question there. I'm guessing that they wanted to try to didn't think that people would buy like 2 separate tickets for 2 different days. As you said, maybe it didn't work. It definitely didn't work, obviously, but like to me that is definitely a TV request. And
it very well could be.
Yeah, I would be willing to bet a lot of money that's why that was put there.
So fine, if you really want that Saturday, like what is it, like 2 or 3 p.m. local, if you really want that slot for the Polish game, fine, do that. But putting the 2 semifinals on 2 different days makes no sense, because it's not about you make more money in 3 days. It's not just about ticket sales making money. It's your operational cost as well. It absolutely costs more to host a 3-day event than a 2-day event. So it doesn't necessarily make you more money to put 1 semifinal the day before. Also, again, if you want to give your team the best chance to win, if you want to give Polish teams
That's
the
a
best
very
chance to win,
USAV to look at it.
yeah, 'cause we don't make money off of our
yeah.
events. It's all about
Exactly.
how much money can we avoid losing. That's one way to think about it. But like I don't think you can argue that the two Polish teams who played a semi a day later were disadvantaged. But by the time it came to the final, Zawiercie was broken. They really were broken, and that leads into a conversation about the whole season. That's exactly right. They were broken from the whole season because. And Poland, the Plus Liga and the Federation have already fixed this. They played too many games. So they relegated 3 teams to drop the league down and to cut down the number of games in the regular season. So that
only takes off 4 games, though.
Yes. But also another mistake that they made was putting the Polish Cup final, which was another back-to-back 2-day thing, after the first round of the playoffs. So the number of matches that these great Polish teams played from
Down
April on was way more than anybody else in the world. And you can see the effect that it had on Zawiercie's entire roster. Bucharin missed time. Russell is having surgery now. Bieniek is broken. Kvolek is a bit injured. Like Perry sat out for a bit. Glotter didn't play in the final. Like the effect is seen. These decisions come from the Federation, and they did not put their own teams in the best position to be successful in the Champions League final. So it's not that they did a bad job producing the event. I thought the event, from a spectator standpoint, was fantastic. I just don't understand some of these decisions for how they affect your own teams.
Yeah, I mean, once again, like these are decisions that have to be like money decisions, right? Like that's the only reason. That's the only real reason that to do that. So, yeah.
Well, overall, spectator wise, I did not like the semifinals being split up, but it looked like a good experience in the venue. It was definitely a good experience to watch. The production, the details, the extras that they threw in for the finals, both the CEV and the governing bodies were, I thought, well done, and it produced good volleyball. Because after that Halkbank donging in the semi, and then after the first 2 sets where JSW went up 2-0 on Zawiercie, I'm like, oh no, we've had 5 uncompetitive sets of volleyball so far. Like, is this going to be a snooze fest of an event? And fortunately, Zawiercie turned it around for us.
Yeah, it was scary there for a second. I did watch a little bit of the Halkbank versus Perugia match, and at no point was it ever competitive. Was it ever enticing?
They missed a float serve 10 feet out of bounds to lose the match.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I think that Halkbank team was just done. You know, they were just done with it, with all of it. But thank God Zawiercie came back and made things interesting. Way better than the women's tournament, that's for sure.
Way better. So, one other random match of club volleyball that did take place over the weekend was the championship of the Marmara Spike League, also known as the LNV, the French top division.
Spike League.
Yeah, a stooge move by the French Federation to schedule their playoffs to end the same weekend as the CEV Champions League. But congratulations to Tours. They took down Poitiers in a donging on Saturday to win their first league title in, I don't know, how many years has it been? A couple years. It seems like a different team wins the LNV every year, but great for Ryan Slater. He balled out in the final.
Sclater.
I always thought it was Slater. I thought the C was silent.
No, it's Sclater.
All right, well, whatever. Congratulations to my boy Mike Marshman, American, for winning that title. And I do have to say, Everett, that I was kind of rooting against Poitiers because of the nonsense they pulled with bringing in an upgraded opposite from within their own league just in time for the playoffs. They brought in Nick Mujanovic, so I was hoping that move would not result in a title, and it did not. So congratulations to Tours.
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely pulling for Poitiers. A bunch of Canadian boys over there. Of course, head coach Dan Lewis. That's an interesting team. But like, hey, you could also make the claim that like Poitiers was kind of owed because they had Ingapeth leave, halfway through the season on them, which created a big hole. But still, you lose the 2-time Olympic MVP, and you still make it to the final. Not that bad. And you know what? It was just good quality stuff from a bunch of Canadians all throughout the LNV. Of course, as we said, Sclater. It was Brett Walsh and Jackson Howe, and as we said, Dan Lewis on Poitiers, a few other guys as well doing some good things over there in the French league who we're going to get to see this year in the VNL as well. So yeah, the sea is not silent. I've known Sclater for 13 years. I've known him. I've watched him play in high school. It's not silent. Shut up, all of you.
I trust you. That's enough talk about the LNV. I didn't watch any of these games, but we wanted to acknowledge it. Before we get to kind of wrapping up the club season at large, a couple important things to discuss as always. The first one is Daddy Stankovic, because it's the time for the Where's Daddy segment. You got to try and find our hero. I photoshopped Daddy Stankovic somewhere in every show, and y'all got to try and find where he is. So last week, we were celebrating the achievement of Long Beach State and their NCAA championship win. And as part of the celebrations, you got to zoom in pretty far for this one, Everett. Got to zoom in pretty far. There he is. Inside
I could kind of see it there, but I couldn't really pinpoint it.
Good. Then did a good job of hiding. Shut up, Ronnie. He is inside the NCAA logo on the Champions banner here. You got to keep an eye out for Daddy Stankovic, and you need to comment the timestamp of where he shows up in the main YouTube comments section after the live stream is over. That's how you get credit for participating. Last week, Moonax found him. He said, Daddy is at 5414 on the logo, and he's a bit blue. True.
He is a bit blue.
Our guy Devin from the Volleyball Coverage Channel said one common link between the NCAA and Daddy is that they're both inactive on Instagram. Painful, also true. Because the whole NCAA men's volleyball season went by and the official account did not post a single time. So that's a tough one. But it's always good for me to hide Daddy somewhere in the show. I always laugh to myself when I Photoshop him. So keep an eye out for him and comment the timestamp of where you find him. But don't put it in the live chat. That would be cheating.
That would be cheating. Also, while you're over there looking for Daddy, you can head over to thatvolleyballstore.com. Use the code SPICY and get 50% off your entire order. A few of you have actually done it. Good job.
Absolutely.
Good job. Want to see a few more of you.
While supplies last. Use that Use that code SPICY to get all of your Volleyball Source related merch just in time for national team season.
Yeah. As in Moto, don't worry about Ronnie. He's just a troll.
Oh yeah, we don't talk to Ronnie. I hope you all enjoy it.
He's a brilliant director, but he's also a troll.
I think we should actually just play this again. Got Ronnie's work of art as he memes on people in the Volleyball Source Discord and himself.
The one thing that I have offenses that he didn't add Cuba into the potential relegation rounds. Like I know they have. I guess they still have Lopez, but still.
Yeah, these are just phenomenal. Great work by Ronnie. Yep, that is a live shot of me pretending like the U.S. national team's failures won't bother me for the next 2 years. But yeah, this is a great one too. The Josh Hutchinson meme.
Samu is gonna get.
And this is what happens. This is what I will do to you if any of you don't respect Daddy Stankovic. So y'all better watch yourselves. Good stuff, Ronnie. Join the Volleyball Source Discord to be part of all the madness. There's a link in the description.
And speaking of the Discord, Rob. Speaking of the Discord,
yes,
do you want to jump into that first, or
no, there's one more headline I want to talk about before we talk about the Discord's end of season awards.
Oh yes,
it's an interesting one. It's official.
I was wrong.
What was rumored for a long time, and there was a whole rumor mill about all this, but it ends up that Semyon Nikolov, aka Moni Nikolov, has in fact officially left Long Beach State, and he is in fact going to Siberia to play for Lokomotiv Novosibirsk in the Russian league starting next year.
I don't know how I feel about this, Rob. I think this was a bad choice.
I think so
something in my gut it tells me it's a bad choice for a few reasons. Like just game style of play. Like let's just separate it from like Eastern Europe to Western Europe right now. Like Western Europe is very like international. Like that's where all the eyes are, right? If you want to continue to grow your game and learn that style of game, like stay in Poland, stay in Italy. But also if you want to continue to grow your brand, right? Now you have done all of this good stuff, all of this goodwill to be the biggest name potentially in men's volleyball that we've ever seen in the NCAA. Like we've never seen a one player have hype like this over 1 year. Like not his brother, not Micah Christensen, not Taylor Sander, not any of these guys. And now you're going to go play behind what is pretty much an iron curtain in Russia, right? Where like no one's going to watch
Russia.
you.
Literal Siberia. Everyone Google right now where Novosibirsk is on a map.
But then to me, the thing that I think is doubly bad in this is that he's going to play for Plemen Konstantinov, like the Bulgarian national team coach, which
Bulgarian national.
Former Bulgarian national team coach. And I think that like when I look at Bulgarian volleyball in general, it needs a spruce up. It needs a something like that. Like if we think of what Bulgaria was in 2010 compared to what Bulgaria is now in 2025, in that 15 years, it has been there has been a massive decline. And we've heard a lot from guys like Matej Kaczynski, and we know Sokolov has been open about it before, and even like Nikolov has said in podcasts how different it is. I just think this really limits him and his exposure. It limits him potentially with brands. I just think that there's a lot of negatives. Now there's a lot of pluses to this as well, right? Like you're going to go play in a very, very physical league. You're going to go play in a very, very demanding league, but can he handle that as a 19-year-old?
So that's
right. That's the big question for me.
Great question. First of all, the things you said about Brandon exposure sound exactly like the points that I made when arguing against you about why he should stay in the NCAA a couple months ago. But I digress on that.
Yeah, but but there has to be a balance between quality of ball and Brandon exposure. Like the NCAA is not an option because the quality of volleyball is not good enough. Is lesser than he was playing in Bulgaria before, right? He went to US and went down a level compared to what he was playing before.
So this to me feels like a decision, and he's kind of said this. He said it in a press release from Bulgaria this week that like he claims that he's making his own decisions first and foremost, but he is clearly under a substantial amount of pressure from one, his father, who is a Bulgarian legend, and two, from the Bulgarian Volleyball Federation, because he has been like on record as being handed the keys to the car as the starting setter for the Bulgarian national team for the foreseeable future. So like that team is his, and like sending him to Lokomotiv in particular under a Bulgarian head coach feels to me like a push from the federation that I don't really like, because play style wise, first of all, on this team on Lokomotiv, he's going to be setting the ghost of Sam Daru is going to be the other foreigner, and a bunch of C tier Russian wings. Now they have decent middles. They have a Lizik and Kirkaev, but Moni's strengths in his game right now are serving and blocking and attacking. What he should kind of be going to orient his club career around getting better at is actually setting the ball and running an offense. Russia is not the place to do that. Or if it is, you want to set better, more like internationally representative attackers. And that's not the type of offense that he's going to be running at Lokomotiv. Under a Bulgarian head coach who doesn't even run the federation or doesn't even like work for his country anymore. I think that now that John Lorenzo Blengini is the coach of Bulgaria, they have Alex, his older brother, playing in Italy. This is an opportunity for the Bulgarian national team to create a new identity instead of just trying to be the poor man's Russia, which they did for so many decades. And this move to me is not like the right place to invest your future in terms of like developing a style of a setter that turns the corner from what they always have been. It
just doesn't. I don't know if it's going to work out for him. Like, I mean, obviously it will, but I'm wondering I wonder what we're going to hear about it. Like. Remember, like Leal left this team, and I know Leal is a special person, is a special personality. So using him as a barometric meter in terms of how things are going over there is a little bit different.
I will say, Everett, on the other side of that, I talked to Gord Perrin at VNL in Ottawa a couple years ago, just over some beers. It was the year that he left Verona mid-season to go back to Lokomotiv Novosibirsk, and he told me that he's never been treated so well by a club anywhere he's been. That's the thing.
that's the thing too, is that a lot of people who, well, I've heard two sides of Russia. There's the Russia I take care of you side, and there's the Russia I had to kind of flee and I didn't get paid side. So I have heard either side of that equation. But yeah, I mean, Lokomotiv is a top flight club.
They're just not going to be a top flight team. They're going to be like,
no,
what, fifth-ish domestically? They did just win the Russian Cup miraculously, which was weird that they played that after the Russian League Championship for some reason. So
yeah,
for whatever all that's worth. But it's going to be real interesting because, I mean, Moni's the guy for the Bulgarian national team. You're going to see him Everett week 1 of VNL in Quebec City, presumably, assuming that he goes, which would be crazy for him not to.
Yeah, it would be crazy.
So that's where he's going. We were wondering for months, and now we know. A 1-year NCAA career, and now he's going from Southern California to Siberia.
The one thing that I could see that this is a positive effect is that, you know, in the same way, like someone will try to entice him back, right? Like someone will try to bring him back with money.
What, like to the NCAA?
No. With to like Italy or Poland or something like that.
Okay, well, I hope so. I'm sure that's where he'll end up at some point in his career. But it's another kind of a lesson of the value of a non-domestic 18-year-old setter, even one as big of a superstar as this. Like a club in Italy or Poland, it wouldn't have made a lot of sense for a great team to invest a lot of money in a foreign 18-year-old setter. It just doesn't make a lot of sense as like elite level team building for club teams in Italy and Poland. So like maybe he could have gone to like a Lube or something like that and sat the bench, or maybe he could have gone to a team that was fighting to make the playoffs. I don't know if any of those would have been a better or worse experience than Lokomotiv. Lokomotiv will probably pay a hell of a lot better, so I'm sure that's part of the equation too.
I mean, there's people saying in the chat too that other teams were going to have him start. And
he's got to go start.
Yeah, he's got to go start. And I do agree that like he's going to have to go start. But yeah, he's going to go play in Lokomotiv. Probably going to have to pay a little bit more attention. Who knows? Maybe Russia will be let back in randomly into the CEV. Probably not.
Who knows? All right. Now it is time, as Everett previously alluded to.
Let's go.
We've got to examine the work of our beloved community. It is time.
And that's important to note there, Rob. Examine the work. Because we need to be out here. I'm gonna get out in front of this beforehand and say that we had no part of this. We are essentially the ones of the group project who are just taking it and are going on with it as we see fit. Because
yes, we're the leads presenting to the board or something of the company, but our underling minor employees actually put all this together. So this is the annual Volleyball Source Discord end of season awards. This is a Google sheet. Big thanks to our guy Jem from Turkey for helping put this together. There's a link in the description to this Google sheet because I'm sure it doesn't look great on screen. I've got it up on screen, but feel free to open it on your own and dig through it at your own pace and follow along. This is we got tabs for the men and the women of a bunch of awards for. We've got 6 leagues on the men's side and 6 leagues on the women's side. So this is all sourced from the Volleyball Source Discord community. Everett and I again had nothing to do with these awards.
I didn't even vote in this.
Nope, me neither.
So where do you want to do this league by league then?
I think so.
We'll start with Italy and just make our way across.
Let's do it.
And do it a little bit more. I have a few issues with the Italian one.
Okay.
As we go through the first team, Poro is the first team setter, Micheletto first team outside, Plotnitsky first team outside, Flavio and Danny Demianenko down in the middle for first team middle blockers, Keita and Balasso first team libero. I actually don't mind this first team overall. What do you think?
I'm cool with the first team. Keita no brainer. Ole and Micheletto no-brainer, Balasso no-brainer. I was surprised that Poro got the nod as the first team setter, but then as I was thinking about it, I don't know really who else I would have put on there necessarily. I wouldn't say it was an amazing year for Superliga setters, although like Spertoli was great in the playoffs, which is another distinction here, that there's like a separate list for like first and second team during the regular season, and then the best team for the playoffs, which did include Ricardo Spertoli. So good job by the community making that distinction. That's important. But yeah, I don't think I have any issues about the regular season awards here. Shout out to your boy, Danny Demianenko.
Well, Yeah. Danny is well deserving. Super happy for that guy and everything that he was able to accomplish this year. In terms, I do have some issues, not with the first. I have a little bit of issues with the second team. Mostly, like guys like the Rock Mosic. How many games did he play this
Missed
year?
a lot of games.
How is he out here getting a second team spot? Let's pull this up here. How many games did the Rock play?
Yeah, he definitely missed some time. Same thing with like the Chinanyeze pick as a second team middle is one I really don't agree with, because like more often than not he ended up getting benched because of the foreigner limits.
Okay, yeah, the Rock only had like 200 some points this year. He wasn't that fantastic. Actually, he played more than I would have expected. I think he was coming off the bench quite a bit, but yeah, I don't know about that one. My biggest issue with the regular season awards here is that you guys, there's two of them that I don't like for Italy. First of all, you gave the regular season MVP to Plotnitsky. In what world is it not
makes
Michieletto?
No sense at all. That's
in what world is it not Michieletto? I'm sorry. Michieletto scored 27% of the points for his team in the regular season. How many did Plotnitsky score? Like, Plotnitsky was really, really good, but Plotnitsky is not in like Michieletto was in the top 20 in every single regular season category.
Like in the top 5 in every category. Even when you lump outside hitters and opposites together, he's still
passing. Okay, but like
fine.
in offense, right? He's him and Bentara are the only two players to make the semifinals to be in the top 10 in scoring. Where was Plotnitsky there? Right? Same thing in points per set. Michieletto was fourth for points per set. Like his efficiency was unreal. Micheletto's efficiency. Where's Plotnitsky's efficiency? Right? Like
Plotnitsky hit 333 on the year. Michieletto 429 on like a full 100 points better in efficiency on the regular season. Like I know Plotnitsky was great serving. He had one of the best serving seasons we've ever seen. There's a hell of a lot more to volleyball than the baseline. And Michieletto was good there too.
Like you do not like. I don't know how to impress it to you guys how impressive this season was by Michieletto. You don't see this, right? Like of the 10 players of the top 10 scorers of like the top best scorers of the league, only 2 of them made the semifinals, right? Like you don't see a player like this dominate and lead a team the way that Michieletto did. I'm sorry that we have some huge, like we have people who must go to sleep in Perugia bed sheets. Like I am absolutely certain of it, because it is absolutely asinine to think that Ole Plotnitsky was the MVP over Michieletto. First and foremost, there's 2 ways to do MVP. How good are you compared to the rest of the league? Michieletto was the best player. And how important were you for your team? Michieletto is 100% the best player. Once again, 27% of the points in the regular season, 30% of the points in the playoffs. So Michieletto was the best player by far. That's not a competition. Whoever voted for Plotnitsky, you need to take your Perugia jersey off for just a little bit, okay? And Sam Wine Scamgee is going to take the precious from you just for a little bit, okay? My second issue that I have in here is most improved player. How the fuck are we not giving this to Bonifonte? How the fuck are we not giving this from Mattia Bonifonte? From the beginning of the season, we're like, oh shit, I don't know what's going to happen to Lube. I don't know if they're going to be good enough. Will they even make the playoffs? Who knows? To making it all the way to the finals? Get out of here, Tim Held.
Now, Bonifonte was awarded best transfer, which I agree with, but like that's literally like what the most improved player award is all about. Like this kid was a nobody afterthought and got so much better in the course of a year that he led a team to the Scudetto final. Tim Held played for Toronto, who got relegated. What are we talking about here?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. Rob, you have infected our fan base quite too much for them to care way too much about the relegation race. So next year we're gonna have to need to change that, because we have fucking stooges out here saying that Tim Held is the best, most improved. So I don't even know who Tim Held is. Like I'll be like, oh, okay, that's Held, cool. But like if you pointed me out, I would not. I have no idea.
I also would not be able to like identify him. I agree with that. I like some of the superlatives, or not necessarily the choices, but I like the categories for some of our superlatives. I got the MVPs, most improved, best and worst newcomer. Are you offended at the choice of Jordan Schnitzer for worst newcomer?
I am offended at this.
Bit slanderous. I think that's
I
a
don't-
Leggiadrolo pick. We have one very loud, very vocal Schnitzer hater in the Discord, and I wonder if that was too heavily weighted. Best coach, Gianpaolo Madei, completely agree.
Yeah, got to give it to Madei.
Best young player, I think we got to be more careful about how we define that, but Luca Porro, good pick. Comeback player, Anzani, I can live with that based on the heart procedure that kept him out of the Olympics. I think that's honorable. Worst transfer. This is a category that I love because it's not worst player. It's worst transfer move, and like the effect that move had on his team. And the choice of Osmani Juantorena to Monza is an outstanding pick for the worst transfer. That was a dumpster fire. Monza tried to build their outside hitter position around Ivan Zaitsev for half the year and the ghost of Osmani Juantorena, and we all saw how that went. That was a good choice. Best match of the regular season, Grotazzolina Toronto. I loved that match. It was really fun. But we're talking about two teams that were in the relegation conversation. Is that really the best match of the year? It's a fun match. I remember it. Best match of the year? And then best match of the playoffs, Lube Milano quarterfinals at 5-sitter. Great match. I don't think there was a better one later in the playoffs. Like Lube pulling the upset, the reverse sweep in the semis, or the 5-setter that clinched Trentino the title. Come on. Stooge Award, Andrea Anastasi. I personally, I mean, obviously he's a massive stooge. He got fired mid-season, but I would have given it to Radostin Stoichev choking out a fan after Verona lost to Lube that ended with him getting fired. I mean, that moment is much dumber than whatever Anastasi did to get fired. I don't know, man. Again, we don't we have nothing to do with any of these choices.
No.
Anything else about the Super League? Can we move on?
No, let's move on to Poland. Let's see here. Janusz as a setter, Fornal Leon as the outside, Huber, Poreba as the middles, Indra, Luke Perry. Sure?
Yeah, I think this is a good list. I wasn't really aware of how good Poremba was in the middle for Zaksa. I know he was like the only one that was healthy enough to play the whole season, but I looked at some of the numbers. They were very good. Yeah. He had a really good year.
Yeah, he did have a good year, but is it enough for first team? I don't know. I thought that maybe Semeniuk, maybe we could give it to a Semeniuk.
David Volk was put on the second team, who really came out of nowhere for Resovia and had an awesome year. I like that choice. Indra, no brainer. Leon Fornal, no brainers. Janusz, Perry, yeah, those are all correct. Then playoffs, it's basically all of Luke Lublin plus Kochanowski and Perry, and I agree.
I have a big issue the fact that you stooges picked Grozanov over McCarthy. In no way is that statistically like there's that is wrong. That is fully wrong. I'm gonna pull that number up. You keep on going. I'm gonna pull this shit up on because so once again, because volleyball is volleyball. There's no one standard way to do it. With the Lega volley, I can separate regular season stats from playoff stats. With the Plus Liga, I can't search any playoff stats.
Yeah, that sucks.
So I have to go do it over on. But I can almost guarantee you that Finn McCarthy was way more statistically relevant than Grozanov. Grozanov was a pit. He was a pit. Like the eye test, like he serves better, the blocks better than like hits better than them. Grozanov is going to be sitting his ass on the bench next year behind Kofi and McCarthy. No, I promise you that.
I do not agree with that.
Grozanov is slow.
Grozanov is substantially better than Dane and Gemma right now, and that's okay. I'm almost positive it's Gemma. We'll have to ask him over the summer.
I will.
I also would have put McCarthy over Grozanov, but a lot of that Lublin team deserved those spots. Let's talk about some superlatives. Regular season MVP, Marcin Janusz. I love this pick. I think we talked about it at some point in the regular season that like a big reason why Zaksa was where they were with the team that they had was because of how good Janusz played. And then I think he got hurt. Was it this year or last year we got hurt for a decent stretch? I think that was last year when they really floundered, but I was really impressed by his level of command and just getting everything he possibly could have out of a Zaxa team that was just not really that good of a roster, and he got them to 5th. And honestly, they almost beat Lublin in the quarterfinal, and Lublin won the league. So I like that. And then playoff MVP is unquestionably Wilfredo Leon. Best newcomer, Patrick Indra, obviously. Most
100%.
improved player. We gave this to Igor Grabelny of Zaxa. I mean, he was like the first guy off the bench for Warszawa the last couple of years, and obviously Zaxa didn't have that many guys, so he started when he was healthy, and I thought he played well. Could we have given this to, I don't know, like a David Vogt from Resovia, or even Finn McCarthy maybe for Lublin, or maybe even like a Kvolek for the role that he played for Zawiercie? I wouldn't have hated that. I'm not sure.
For the record, in the final, Grozanov scored 23 points. McCarthy scored 21, so it was wrong. However, when you look at their attacking numbers, McCarthy was 11 for 17. Grozanov was 12 for 24. Grozanov hit 50%. McCarthy hit 64.7. Grozanov's efficiency was a 208. McCarthy's was a 588. Suck it, nerds.
That's a big difference. I mean, yeah. And then, yeah, a guy like a Kevin Sasak or like a Mikołaj Savitsky, that obviously their playoff runs were more like defined their seasons more, but those guys for most improved would have been worthy picks. Coach of the season, Gianni for Zaxa, totally agree. Comeback player, Milad Ibadapor for Norvid, totally agree. Worst transfer, Gregor Ropret to Resovia. I think that's a fantastic choice.
Yeah, that one's well. I will say that Ropret, like, we remember Ropret from the beginning of the season. I think he started to figure it out towards the end. Like, remember Resovia, like Resovia was one of the hottest teams.
A lot of that
for a while.
A lot of that run was with Łukasz Kozub setting, who they brought in the middle of the season.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah,
I'm trying to defend Ropret's feelings over here.
Ropret was bad. Best match was Norvid versus Zawiercie, 5-set win for Norvid. I remember that game. It was really good. That's a pretty good pick. Best match of the playoffs, JW versus Lublin, semifinal match 3, where Leon popped off in the 5th. That's a worthy choice. I think that the Zawiercie versus Warszawa series, I mean, the whole series was unbelievable.
I would tend to go game 3 of Warszawa.
I agree.
Zawiercie as well. But
season defining moment, Barkom Lviv beating Nissa in the last game to climb out of relegation position for the first time all season. I do like that one because I love a relegation race, but like season defining moment, I'm not sure. And then Stooge Award named after Nicolas Vives, the ultimate Stooge. Why are we giving this to Benson? Benson was the worst team in the league. They were always the worst team in the league. Obviously, like the second half of their season was historically bad, but they were always going to get relegated. I think that's just them being bad. They did fire their coach mid-season, so that was stupid because they were going to be bad anyway. But like, I feel like Stoogery comes from a better team doing something much dumber that hurts them more versus a team that was going to get relegated anyway doing something that further cements their relegation. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I can't really think of someone who'd be a big stooge in the Plusliga, though. You know, like, yeah, no, I couldn't really think of anything in that way. So if you guys say it, like, let's just go with them.
Fine. Maybe the scheduling of the federation. Efeler Ligi. Moving on to the Turkish men's league. This is a good one. We got some good ones here. I think I kind of want to skip straight to the superlatives so that we move this stuff along for kind of the rest of the discussion. Jean Patry, regular season MVP. Matt Anderson, playoff MVP. Both great choices. Yeah. Anderson,
no doubt about it.
Playoffs, total no-brainer. Most improved player, Gökçen Yüksel from Arkaspor. I know nothing about this guy. Apparently he's the left side. Is somebody in the chat, is he on the Turkish national team for this summer? Because
I think he is. Yeah, okay. I think I remember. I'm pretty sure I heard Jemmy tell me about him.
This is good. Best newcomer, Jean Patry. Great choice. Worst newcomer. Here's a name that might ring some bells, Everett. Jiri Kovar. The weed man himself. One of the earliest like victims of a meme in Volleyball Source like Discord community history was Jiri Kovar. It made me happy to see his name pop up on this one.
Yeah, love that. Slobodan Kovac is named coach of the season for what he did with Fenerbahce over there. Best young player once ever, Gocen
Wait a
Yüksel.
minute. How did Kovac win this when Ziraat Bank dominated the league and won the playoffs? Fenerbahce won like the cup only.
Yeah, but like it could be with like what you know doing with what you had. Like I'm really not entirely familiar with Fenerbahce all that much.
I mean, yeah, they brought in Ingapet halfway through. They had like both Luberic and Gurbuz on the right side. They brought in Jendrik late.
But like Ziraat Bank was sick. Like you had Matt Anderson and Trevor Klevno.
Yeah, they were great.
Yeah, and Yeni Pazar, who's actually a really underrated setter. Like you have Wouter Termat. Like that is a loaded roster.
Okay,
so
the Turks in the chat are defending Kovac, so I'll give it to you guys. You obviously watch more of your league than I do. Best match of the regular season. This is a good one that we got to remember this legendary one. It's when Fenerbahce played Galatasaray and Patri and Grubuz both dropped 40 plus in that like legendary like old school opposite slugfest 5-setter. I remember blowing everyone's minds, my own included, looking at the numbers from that match in the regular season. So that was a fantastic pick. Stooge Award, Igor Kolakovic and Hawkbank's entire club for finishing whatever disgusting number they finished in the playoffs. And then here's one that I am glad that is brought up and that is sad and needs to be remembered, that Arkas Izmir is withdrawing from the Efteler Ligi, and that's just really sad and a big bummer and a bad sign for Turkish men's volleyball.
Yeah, that is sad. I mean, as a Canadian, we've always had that link with Arcus because of Glenn. You know, I'm thinking down the list of guys who have play there, like Paul Durden, like Gore Perrin started his career there, Gavin Schmidt, Adam Simak, Daniel Lewis, like Dustin Schneider, Justin Duff, like TJ, Nick, like the list goes on and on and on. And I think it sucks for Kai and Chem are both like two of our big Polish guys in the chat are Arcus fans as well. So yeah, I think we all feel this one, and that's a club that did some good things over the year. Hope maybe they come back at some time, but we'll see how it goes.
Hope so. Yeah, that one was sad. They were really they were a good club anyway, and then they developed great Turkish talent. They developed great Canadian talent. That was a really good place for a lot of people to go, and they always did the most in terms of like performance and standings. They did absolutely the most with what they had. Glenn Hogue obviously deserves a lot of credit for that. LNV or Marmara Spike League. I have no opinions on any of this. I know some names obviously, but I don't think I actually watched an LNV game all year. I just watched some of their teams in CEV competition. But apparently,
Yuri Sejic, our young,
Juris, our boy, he's really good. I'm excited to see him this summer.
Making the list here, Simon Hirsch, top opposite, down to the playoffs. Correct, Patron, Stretlau.
Matisse Heno is going to be really good. That's Ilir's younger brother.
Yeah,
he's awesome.
Comeback player of the year, Tyler Mitchum.
That's a big one. Love Tyler Mitchum. He was national team caliber in the middle for a couple years there. Got pretty badly hurt, missed a whole season of pro, and had a good season over in France. I actually think he might come and play a little bit of VLA in a couple weeks for Chicago, which would be elite. He is a Chicago guy, so that was awesome. Your boy Sclater, playoff MVP. Tomas Lopez Pascual is an outside hitter from Montpellier. I've never heard of this guy.
Me neither.
Wait, where's he from?
Tomas Lopez Pascual.
Never heard of him. Season-defining moment when Poitiers beat Tours in Irvin Ingapet's last game before piecing out for Fenerbahce. I actually remember seeing that, at least on social media. Fine pick. Especially because I don't know anything else. I'm to have something intelligent to say about the LNV. I want to see Nick Mujanovic play as much as possible for Slovenia this summer. I think like we've been hearing his name enough. He was a backup on Monza. He went to France, scored a boatload of points. It's time for Slovenia to be intentional about getting that kid a real legitimate look at the right side for Slovenia this summer. Like, I want to see him against elite competition. Like, is this the scorer that we hear the rumblings he might be?
Yeah, I want to be able to see that too. Like Slovenia, they just keep on holding on to this older roster, and I want to see some of those young guys get in there. Like, what's going to come up to play with the Rock? Because you have one of the most dynamic outside hitters in the world,
and all of his teammates are 10 years older than him.
Yeah, and you barely give him any. You barely give him any play, so it'll be interesting. Thomas Lopez is Argentinian.
Oh,
He's played. He signed through for 2 more years with Montpellier. Previously played for Nantes and then Bull. Also played for Vibo for a year, but
it must have been when they were in the B League, maybe. Well, it's good. Like a lot of Argentinians have had success playing in France, and that's another team that does need to be kind of intentional about getting younger. So maybe another piece for Argentina.
They were in the first league, but I think they got relegated.
That was I think that might have been the Nishida year when they got relegated, but I don't remember watching that.
No. Yeah, they were still in the first league. He played with like Skrimov and Thomas Barreto, Mohamed Al-Hajdadi.
Woof! What a weird team that must have been.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep her moving. The Bundesliga. Obviously, this is going to be dominated by Berlin guys, as it should be. Shout out Gage Worsley, Simon Torwi, and Oscar Espelon from Lüneburg for getting on the first team from the regular season. Michael Wright, setter from Lüneburg, might get a little USA run this summer. Your boy Xander Kaczynski from Lüneburg, second team opposite. Kyle D'Agostino had a great year. Jake Haynes had a great year. So obviously some good North American representation in the Bundesliga, as there always is. Simon Torwi, MVP of the regular season in the middle, which I love to see. Everett, did you know that he's going to play for Trentino next year?
I did know that. Yeah, I did know that. That's going to be very interesting.
Love it. And then Jake Haynes, playoff MVP, also well-deserved, put up huge numbers. They just dominated that final against Lüneburg.
Rado Parapunov getting the worst transfer.
Ouch.
That's not good.
Ouch. Tough one for an NCAA alum. Best match of the regular season. I definitely remember this one. One in the epic chapter of Lüneburg Berlin rivalry games. It was Berlin's only loss in the regular season this year when Lüneburg beat him in 5. That was a great one. Stooge Award Jake Haynes for his meltdown against Lüneburg in that very match.
I disagree with that. I don't think we can give that a Stooge Award. I mean, it was something,
funny,
but I don't think. Yeah, it was definitely funny, but I don't know if we can give that a Stooge Award for sure.
Yeah, I don't know either. All right, moving on to the SV League. Last but not least, on the men's side, interesting. Some of the Japanese guys that got put on this list. Aiki Mori, a libero I've never heard of. Hideyomi Fukatsu, who was the distant backup Japanese national team setter for a while. I'm surprised our boy Iro, I guess he's on the second team. A little surprised he didn't get on that top list. And then Kaigo Nishimoto is a middle who I've never heard of. So I guess I got to open my eyes to those guys. Maybe they get some run for Japan this summer. But Namir, TJ DeFalco, and Miguel Lopez, as far as foreigners, I think those are all excellent choices.
Yeah, I do think that Thomas Jeschke deserved a little bit more respect here. I thought his numbers were fantastic, and without him, Blution was not the same team at all. His offensive numbers, his efficiency was really good. They weren't super high, but he was playing alongside Nishida and Lopez, so he's clearly going to be the third option. But I thought he was really big for them down the stretch. I know he's leaving the Japanese league, but yeah, I thought Jeschke was fantastic for Blution this year.
I agree, and honestly, he's been there for a couple of years. It sounds like he's had a good experience, but that's a guy, his body cannot handle 44 games a year. So I think it's the right move for him to go somewhere else. Some superlatives: regular season MVP Namir, no brainer. I think we talked about some of the numbers he put up at the end of the regular season that were absurd. But then Dmitry Mazursky for the playoffs, dropped 40 and one of the finals for Centauri. That was a ridiculous performance. Worst newcomer Riccardo Lucarelli. Is this fair, or did he just get hurt?
Well, I don't understand how we can call worst newcomer Lucarelli and then also give worst transfer to Slivka, because he was also like he was also like, if you're gonna call Lucarelli a newcomer, then so is Slivka, and Slivka was way worse. I don't think
Noticeably worse.
Lucarelli noticeably way worse. I don't think like, and like you gave worse transfer to him. I don't think that Lucarelli was fantastic down the stretch, and that in my eyes, I thought that JTech, whenever they didn't get it done, was because of Lucarelli. In my opinion, when I was looking at things, that he was clearly like the weakest link in those situations. But I don't think he was the worst newcomer of the year to the SV League. I don't think so at all.
Yeah, I don't agree.
Like Lucarelli had like a better regular season than like Ryan and Slivka.
We maybe some significant favoritism by our Japanese fans towards Japanese players, because you're opening up the league, and this is all good. We've praised this, that you're opening up the league to more superstar foreigners, and then you're still leaning so heavily against those foreigners. But whatever, you guys can make whatever lists you want. I would have given the worst transfer award or worst newcomer to the man who received the Nicolas Vives Award for excellence in stoogery, which was Matsuye Muzai, for getting suspended for being racist towards Miguel Lopez. I would have given that some other award for being the worst of the year. Worst foreigner, worst transfer, worst newcomer, whatever.
Yeah, but I think his numbers were decent. But I fully agree that he was the most embarrassing. I think that was the most embarrassing part of the entire volleyball year for me. That was the worst part.
That was a really bad one.
That Stoichev choking a fan, number 2.
The Hulk Bank meltdown, that was a pretty good one.
Yeah, maybe the terrible women's Champions League Final Four at number 3.
Oh, I was thinking just men's. There are plenty of good meltdowns on the women's side.
Yeah,
and we're going to talk about them in a minute. Don't worry.
Yeah. Oh,
actually,
women.
Let's do it. Let's go through the women. Let's
just rip through it.
Yeah. Italy, Lega Volley Femminile. Obviously, this is going to be dominated by Conegliano players. MVP of the regular season, Ekaterina Antropova, extremely well deserved. Her numbers for Scandici were completely insane, and then her team just did not support her well enough to make a deep run in the playoffs. Playoffs MVP Gabi, I like that. Best newcomer Tatiana Tolok for Novara, love that. You watched a lot of Novara down the stretch, Everett. I know you loved watching her play.
I did, yeah. I really like Tatiana Tolok. Yeah.
Comeback player Akiri Kella, I like that pick. Coming over to Conegliano and starting the whole year. Best transfer Gabi, hard to disagree. Best coach of the season, Enrico Barbolini for Busto Arsizio. So I also see Giorgia Frosini listed as most improved, who played opposite for them. I don't think
Busto started the season really poor,
and then they fixed it.
Yeah, absolutely. So they did a lot better as things continued on. I would like to see a little bit more love to maybe an Avery Skinner or a Simone Lee.
Did we get either of those players in our guys? What are we doing?
No.
Ailama Chese Montalvo. Who even is that? First team outside hitter?
I'm pretty sure she's Cuban, right? If I'm not wrong. No, she was pretty nasty. She was one of the top scorers in the league. I don't think the first team. I would just like to see. I'm not Zhuting, yes. But it's hard to say because of who else was on that team. I would say that for either of these players, I'd put in either Lee or Avery Skinner.
Yeah, I trust Tommy Blizzard, who we hear put this together. But Skinner was Chieri's best player for the whole year. Lee was Valafolio's best player for the whole year. Both those teams made the playoffs.
Yep.
I don't know. Vowosh, yeah, all setting awards go to Joanna Vowosh. That's a no-brainer. I love this from Tommy. Season defining moment. Conegliano giving a gigantic ass beating to Malonza at the Unipol Forum in Milano in front of the biggest whip crowd for Italian women's volleyball in history, with over 12,000 people there. Just a big old donging. I remember that very well. This is a great pick for season defining moment because it was funny. it encapsulated the growth and the popularity of Italians women's volleyball this year, but it also exemplifies Conegliano's dominance. I think this is a fantastic choice.
Yeah, it was basically a microcosm of the entire year, as everyone got all stoked for them to just give them a beat down. I also found it really funny that the Italian record for attendance for a Lega volley match, for a Lega volley femminile match, is just an average Saturday afternoon in Omaha for the Supernovas. So yeah, very, very interesting. But yeah, I mean,
Scandici's management. This is a good pick for the Stoogery Award. Completely not acknowledging whatsoever the foreigner limit, and it seems like for next year they're going to do the same thing. Firing Stefan Antiga when he hadn't even lost a set, and then signing Li Yingying for next year just before a season-ending injury. I actually didn't know about that last part. That's tough.
That's great.
That is tough. Poor Antropova, man. She deserves better. Anything else about the Lega Volley Femminile?
No, I think let's keep it moving. I wish there was more, but unfortunately, it was just kind of a boring year this year in the LVF.
It was a boring year. Boring year.
Moving over to Sutenlar League. Britt Bongart's the first team setter. Marina Markova, Alexander Uzelac are both the first team outsides. Burka Busha Ozden from Iden is a first team middle blocker alongside Dana Redke, Rob Sinclair, Melissa Vargas, obviously, to round it out, and then Eilul. Do you know how to pronounce this one?
No, I want to hear you try it.
Eilul Akarchesmi Yatkin.
Not bad. Yeah, not bad. I'm not really familiar with her either. She plays libero for Galatasaray.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Once again,
Markova deserves all the superlatives for this Sutenlar League season. That season she had for Vakifbank, the regular season, the playoffs, the title that she won. That's a complete no-brainer. She was really tremendous. I actually kind of like the split MVP between Markova and Jansu Uzbai for the playoffs. I definitely don't mind that.
Yeah, I know. Jansu she was like a good emotional leader for me. Like some of the best ball we've ever seen from her over the course of this playoffs.
Yeah, she was really great in that final against Fenerbahce. Huge disparity between her and Durcha, I think, was setting for Fenerbahce and did not do so very well. Worst newcomer, Catherine Plummer. Tough one there. I mean, she didn't play the first half of the season because she was hurt, and then definitely didn't play great. But I don't know. Worst newcomers.
That's a little tough. That's a little tough on that. I do like seeing Kira Van Rijk as playoff at best opposite. Fully agree with that one. Anyone else? Deddy, coach of the season, obviously. Annie Mitchum. Is that in relation to Tyler Mitchum, who we talked about earlier? Or is that just another?
I don't know that. I think I assume she's American based on her name. And if you don't know who she is, then she's probably not Canadian. But I don't think I know anything about her. I'll look her up really quick.
Best season defining moment, Zaren beating both Fenerbahce and Vakifbank. I think that's really going to show is a little what's to come in the Sutenlar League with what Zaren Sports doing over there.
That is I like that pick for that exact same reason, that it's just it's a pretty imminent foreshadowing of what might be going on with that Zaren Sports situation. Something we'll keep a close eye on as they get ready for next season. I mean, Uzelac was really good for them all year. It's a good sign if you're a Serbian fan, but that club and the money that they all of a sudden have and what they're doing with it is going to be a big story for next club season.
It is going to be interesting. They've only got 5 players signed so far. Uzelac is one of them. Brankica Mihalovic. So they're bringing back Mihalovic back.
She's playing opposite, right? At least I hope so.
Yeah. And then Ophelia Malinov as well, too. The Italian setter. Yeah. So that's going to be it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting.
They're going to need a little more than that if they're
it's kind of got a bit of a Monza vibe. You know what I mean? Like, let's just go get a bunch of old players.
Maybe they're not all on Volleybox yet, but I'm curious. They're going to need a little more than those that you mentioned for next season. There, another thing, I'm surprised. Is this in the Stooge Award? Yeah, okay. It's Ajabash's whole franchise gets the Stooge Award. They really melted down hard. But this is a good reminder that of the top 5 teams in Turkey, the other 4, not named Vakifbank, all fired their coaches mid-season this year, which is crazy. So there's a lot of stoogery going around and a lot of franchise instability for good Turkish teams not named Vakifbank. That's just really crazy. 4 out of the best 5 teams in the league a year making mid-season coaching changes.
That is pretty crazy. That's nuts. Volleyball's volleyball.
Yeah, well said. I have absolutely no opinions about the Toron Liga. There are some names from the Polish national team that obviously we recognize. Stenzel, Lethal Barbie, Venerska, Fiducio, Pierzkawa, Korneluk again, Fiducio again, Venerska again. I know Zhezhov won their first title ever. Good for them, but I can't say any more about the Taran Liga just because I don't know. Other than the Bartman coaching situation has to be the stooge pick of the year, and I believe that it is.
Yeah, I agree. Moving over to the SV League for the women in Japan, a few notable things. Brianne Butler, first team middle blocker. You've got Rosa Maria out of Brazil, the first team opposite. I am a little disappointed that we didn't see Mackenzie May. I thought that she was really good in her numbers. Like she was close to the top 10 in scoring.
Good call.
For them as well. You also have Sylvia Nwakalor in that second team as well. Arisa Inoue over there, Yoshima Sato in the first team. So some decent things going on. I didn't watch any of the playoffs, so I can't say anything about what happened over there. But Rosa Maria, once again, best opposite, best newcomer going to Brianne Butler, also the best transfer coming in and just doing a fantastic job. She was in Brazil last year before making that transfer over. Season-defining moment. Denso Airbees being a contender once again after years being mid.
That's not a moment. That's not a season-defining moment. That's just a thing that happened that might be memorable. We got to pick a moment. I mean, for this next category, for the PVF, the Pro Volleyball Federation, season-defining moment being Lekator member Manea's injury for the wrong reasons.
100%.
That's an excellent pick for a season.
That's an excellent because it really did. Like if Indy had LMM down the stretch, that's a much different team. Like she
made it to the finals anyway.
Yeah, they made it to the finals anyways, exactly. But she dominated. If you look at some of her numbers, like attacking, passing, digging, like with the way that she was able to do it on all sides of the ball, was outstanding. Now, as I go through these, I have to agree with most of them. Pornpoon has the best setter. Yeah, absolutely. Leah Edmond and Brooke Noonfuller as the outside. Kazmar Brown and Corey Lewis in the middle. Sure, definitely Corey Lewis. Kazmar Brown. I was thinking more of that Omaha girl. She led the league in blocking for most of the year. I'm trying to remember her name. It'll come back to me. Marley Monserez, I would go more towards the indie setter. Why is she
Sydney Hilly?
Sydney Hilly, yeah, I thought that she was a little better. I mean, down the stretch, like she was statistically one of the best setters, but sure, Azani Teeler definitely deserves that as a second team opposite. She was so good. Elena Scott as well was really, really good as libero. Morgan Hens was the first team. I honestly agree with pretty much all of this. Nina Chajic, also best outside hitter in the playoffs. Man, she's going to be playing for Serbia. Like she's kind of come out of nowhere. She played for like a D3 school and then played for Tennessee and came in as a rookie this year. She was awesome. She's going to be playing for Serbia at the VNL. She's on the 30 person, so she is going to be outstanding. Brittany Abercrombie, of course, as well, continuing on. And I like the regular season MVP of Leah Edmonton and then Edmond, and then the playoffs MVP of Brittany Abercrombie. That's really good too. She gets the best newcomer. I like it. This one is really hard. I wish we had a rookie of the year. Like we need like a rookie of the year and the best newcomer. Because like to me, the rookie had to be the year had to be Nina Chaic, right?
Agreed.
Coming in, she was coming in. She was in the NCAA, and her ability to come in and just make such an impact on Indy was outstanding. There's a bunch of few of them. For me, Nina Chaic was the best one, and that's one of the maybe one of those superlatives that should be there.
It looks like
that isn't.
We even did add that for League One, but didn't have that for the PVF. And I agree that like when you have such a clear step from the NCAA to the pros, regardless of which league it's in, I think like the rookie designation matters in American sports because that difference is substantial. Like your first year as a pro in Europe is a lot like softer of a defined thing. But in the States, it matters. It's a pretty clearly defined line, and I think that should be documented for next year. The last thing, the Stoogery Award, the Omaha Supernovas ownership for announcing the foundation of the MLV and then leaving that they're going to leave for next year and then acting like it's never happened since. I agree with this. I'm still confused by this to this very moment. Is that still a thing that's happening? I don't think anybody knows.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about the MLV. They had a few announcements right at the beginning there.
What was
and
that?
Didn't do anything else.
December or January maybe. When that
no, it was more like November. No,
I feel like the PVF started when that.
Yeah,
happened.
no, it was during the PVF, so it had to have been January. It had to have been January. Yeah,
wow, that was so weird. Still is weird.
Still is weird.
Moving over to League One, a lot of choices here that I personally really like. Rachel Fairbanks is everywhere on these awards, and she absolutely deserves it. I mean, she wasn't even like considered for League One Atlanta until they had an injury to one of their setters at the last minute, and they pulled her straight out of graduation from the University of Pittsburgh. She came down there, took the starting setter job, and was unbelievable all season. Atlanta was the 1 seed in the playoffs, so I really like that pick. Same with Kelsey Robinson. Ronnie Jones-Perry is a name for Salt Lake that I hope gets some USA time this summer. I can't remember if she's on the 30-player roster or not.
I don't think she is, from my reminder.
It's good to see an actual point scorer at the left side position. Tia Jimerson and Amber Agiety, I'm pretty sure both of those girls are on the USA roster for this summer because of how good they were in League One this year. Jordan Thompson, no brainer, and then Manami Kojima at libero for Salt Lake, the one foreigner on the first team, which I totally agree with. And then the performances of a lot of the Austin players for the playoffs, like Carly Lloyd Setting, Logan Eggleston, Molly McCage, Maddie Skinner. They won the title. They were unbelievable in doing so. Good choices. Same with like regular season MVP Jordan Thompson, playoff MVP Maddie Skinner. Totally agree with both. Most improved Logan Eggleston, I like how her and Skinner are both still listed at both positions because we all still aren't totally sure where those two players belong. But I think as far as, at least in League One, Logan Eggleston is a left side.
Yes. And Maddie Skinner is an opposite.
Yeah. We'll see if that stays that way, but that is the case for now. Best newcomer, Rachel Fairbanks, like I said. Best young player, Annie Drews. Annie Drews is 30. Oh, wait, this is not best young player. It's comeback player. I'm looking at the awards from the other column. My bad. That makes way more sense. I was about to lose.
Yeah, I was going to be like, yo, guys, what are you guys doing over there?
Comeback player Annie Drews I like because she was hurt for the first month-ish, and Madison was the worst team in the league, and then she came back in, and they went on a huge run and became one of the better teams in the league, so I do like that one.
Sorry, I was wrong. Ronnie Jones-Perry is on the 30-person roster.
Great. I wasn't sure. That's good news. That definitely should be the case. Ooh, tough one here, Everett. Most underwhelming player, Justine Wong-Arantes. Is this message written only by Lexi Rodriguez fans? I think it has to be.
Yeah, once again, I didn't watch too much League One this year, but yeah, it would have to be, in my opinion. Y'all are salty. Lexi Rodriguez fans are the Hawaii fans of women's volleyball.
Yes, they are. That they so are. I mean, the Nebraska fan base and the Hawaii fan base are already really similar. That's a great poll. Salt Lake versus Austin, that ridiculous 5-setter in the playoffs. Good pick. Season defining moment. Annie Drews dropping 28 to kind of spur that Madison comeback that I talked about. I like that one. Stooge Award, Tamari Miyashiro for running the worst timeouts. She once called a timeout, said figure it out, and then said nothing the rest of the time. I think that's hilarious. I wish I had noticed one.
That's a fucking awesome
That's an
timeout. I'm sorry. That's
that.
an amazing timeout. That's a get your heads out of your fucking asses. And like when I was coaching 13U girls, that was we would take 3 breaths timeout. It would like, hey, we're gonna settle things down, take 3 breaths. But when I was coaching college boys, that would be let's throw a fucking clipboard and say, figure it out, you fuckers.
Yep.
That's exactly what that would have been. So I think that's hilarious.
Yeah, I think it's great. Sometimes in a timeout, there's nothing tactical that ever needs to be said. It's pull your own heads out of your own asses, figure it out, and there's nothing else a coach can really do at that point. You either they figure it out or they don't. So I just think that's funny. Oh, we just got a nice little message from Jem. He says hello. That's very cute. Thanks, buddy. He's dropping us messages in the Google sheet.
That's so funny.
Thank you to Jem and the whole community for putting this together. Again, the link is in the video description, so you can check this out at your own pace and look through all the awards in a lot more detail. But we appreciate our community for everything that they do and that they are for us, but also for putting these together at the end of the year. I forgot something. This club, Al-Rayyan from Qatar, won the men's AVC Champions League. Do we care? Oh my god!
Well, yeah, we do care because I'm sick and fucking tired of Iranian clubs. Like Iran, you guys are a great volleyball.
They're from
nation.
Qatar, but close enough. They do this. It's the same pattern of all these Middle Eastern clubs every year.
Like, just go. Is it even like Nick Hogue's like Qatari team? No. Just why do you allow this? Why does the AVC allow this? It's such horseshit.
It's stupid.
Like, I want the good teams there. I don't want random Qatari teams there. I'm sorry. Right? If you guys want to have these teams there, like, yeah.
And by there, you mean next year's Club World Championship, because that's what they qualified for. And like, I don't understand what's in it for them. What's in it for them to throw a bunch of money at Namir, Namor Keita, and Tina Ernau just to win this tournament, and then go to the Club World Championship?
Because that's how Qatar. No, because that's how Qatar puts them on themselves as a country on the world map. This is why they host the World Cup. This is why they host so many beach tournaments every year. Like they are looking to, like, Qatar has nothing but oil, right?
Yeah.
So they're looking to establish themselves on the world stage in terms of being like a cultural leader and in terms of like being in like leading in sport. So they bring in like a lot of like foreign nationals, and then like they're beach volleyball guys who are some of the best in the world. Those guys
are legitimately really good.
Yeah, but they're not.
I even know who they are. Aren't you proud of me?
Yeah, exactly. But they're not actually Qatari, right? So this is how Qatar, but like, pushes their like literally their country's brand on an international stage.
Yeah, it's the definition of sports washing. I mean, all the Middle Eastern countries do it. Saudi Arabia does it, but like, I just don't understand in a volleyball perspective. Like, if you get great, you went out and you qualified for the Club World Championship. Like, the Iranian teams have been doing this for years. Then they'll go to the Club World Championship with none of those ringers that got them there, and they get steamrolled.
But they just care that they're there.
Right? That does for them. Then great, good for them.
They just care that they're there. Right. Fine. Because it's like a Qatari team on the world stage. That's amazing for them. Right.
Good for them. If that makes them happy, then great. They did 3-dong Osaka Blue Dion in the final. So Osaka Blue Dion also qualifies for next year's Club World Championship. They did it without Thomas Jeschke. So that actually is a team that I trust to be competitive at that event. Yeah. So I guess that's good news. Centauri got beat. There was another like team with a bunch of ringers. I think it might have been Inga Pet's team, wherever he got picked up to play for. I think they got beat in the semis as well. Whatever. That also happened this week. Last but not least, Everett, there were a way to kind of put the club season in perspective that I thought to do it efficiently was to talk about kind of winners and losers of the entire club season. Are you down with this? Down to
So let's wrap this up. It's been 2 hours.
Yeah, long show.
Let's get this going.
I have 3 winners of the entire club season. One is Amoko Caneliano.
Yes.
Duh. The second, in a similar vein, is good, solid, well-run, well-built franchises. Because I think this year...
No. That's too much of a cop-out. Give me, like, if you're going to say, let's sit here and do 3 winners, don't just put a blanket fucking, all of the teams that go good. No, give me 1, 2, 3.
teams that like Vakifbank in the Turkish
Oh,
league,
you're
for
so
example.
fucking soft.
Fine.
Yeah.
Vakifbank is a huge winner. They're the
Great.
least stoogey of the Turkish women's teams, and that proved itself. Then my last winner is the SV League, and their
Yes.
reformatting and their growth. We've talked about it a lot. Do you have 3 winners?
How do you not have Lublin in there?
Because it was one of my lists that you told me that I was copping out of. Good
Because,
franchises.
But like that's such a that's not a like a winner and loser type thing, because like what is the definition of a good as franchise? Is Norwich a good franchise because they went from being relegation to being in the playoffs? So like give me concrete things. Caneliano obviously #1 winners. I think the best storyline of the year has to be Lublin. Like Lublin is the best story. Like they are the biggest winners of this season. They came in, everyone thought they were getting a wash Wilfredo Leon. They didn't get that, right? Last year they were like last minute tried, like got a Challenge Cup spot. They ended up winning that. They win their first like major trophy in their club. They look like they plateau at the Polish Cup. They're unable to beat Yashemski, but then they turn things around. Like how is that not like they have to be one of like the biggest winners
It was
this
awesome.
year. They won everything.
I had them included in a greater category. That's okay. My losers are Turkish women's teams not named Vakifbank. All 4 of them. We talked about the stoogery and them firing their coaches. We also talked about Arkas Izmir. I think it's just we are the losers for losing, and volleyball is the losers for losing Arkas Izmir.
Yeah.
That's a bummer. And then if you're a stooge coach this year, you're a loser, because we had an all-time year for firing coaches midseason. All-time year. Kolakovic for Halkbank, all 4 of them in Turkey. Stefan Antiga super early for Scandici. Verona, Stoichev, Anastasi Piacenza. There were a lot of coach
Here's
firings.
Here's my losers.
Let's hear it.
The entire LVF for just letting Caneliano run a train on you so far in the 2020s.
Agreed.
Has been embarrassing that you guys have been unable to do anything about them. And even when Milano goes out and gets 4/7 of the gold medal winning team, they're unable to do anything about that. Figure it the F out. My worst thing, #2, is the leg of volley in general. Why are all the matches at the same times? Why am I watching matches in 720, 24p, like 24 FPS? It just doesn't make sense. Stop being fucking stooges. This is terrible.
They're gonna get caught. Well, they're already getting caught.
They're already getting caught, right?
It's gonna cost them. They just don't know it because they're all boomers.
Yeah, absolutely. Finally, and my last one has to be the Champions League overall.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The Champions League needs a massive refresh, and everything I'm hearing about it right now, I don't like. It needs to be. It needs to like the Champions League needs a complete refresh, and it can't just be. We need to have the best teams playing the best teams, 100%, but they can't own and have a monopoly on that. Like that will be if it ends up like EuroLeague basketball, it will kill volleyball. So the Champions League needs to be massively redone, broadcasting, like media, everything, and we all know it won't happen.
Volleyball is volleyball.
Volleyball is volleyball.
That's an excellent way to summarize this whole club season.
Basically, the entire volleyball world is just waiting around, twiddling our thumbs to see who Volleyball World hires as the next CEO, and that will dictate everything that happens moving forward. Which is great. Which is a great spot for our sport to be in.
Real good spot. Real good spot.
We're just playing the waiting game. And yeah.
Volleyball is volleyball, boys and girls. That's it. That's the club season. I wouldn't say it was one of the best club seasons we've ever had, but it had its moments. It had its good matches. It had its good teams. But now it's time. It's national team season. We are full speed ahead from here on out for national team season. We will have our annual pre-recorded VNL preview videos for the men and the women. Those will come out before those respective tournaments start. The women's VNL, by the way, starts 2 weeks from tomorrow. So June, what is it? 4th?
3rd, 4th.
June 4th in East Asia, so late June 3rd if you're in North America like us. We got two weeks until the start of women's VNL, men's VNL the week after. We will still have the 9x9 every Tuesday. I believe that is our current plan.
Yes.
Everett, can you tell the people where you are planning to be in person? Is that something we can announce?
Yeah, for sure. I will be in Ottawa, I will be in Quebec City, and I will be in Chicago in person doing my Volleyball Source stuff. So let me know if you're around. If you have a place for me to stay in Quebec City, that would be even better. Hell, if you had a place for me to stay in Ottawa too, that'd be really nice as well. Yeah, super stoked on it. There will be at least one Canada versus Italy exhibition match that I will be able to get baseline highlights from. And yeah, pretty stoked on it. Stoked to do a bunch of interviews, do some stuff. The 9x9, we're definitely going to have a show. Like, even when we're on location, we're still going to have the 9x9.
Right.
So definitely make sure to tune in on that. And VNL this year is actually one less
day per week.
Yeah, one less day per week. So it won't be like last time where it's like Tuesday was the first day of games and we usually do the 9x9. So we use the 9x9 on like the Tuesday, maybe the Monday, probably the Tuesday. And then I'll do some live updates throughout. We'll do our regular interviews, and yeah, we'll do some good stuff. Make sure you guys come say hi if you see us around.
Yeah, obviously I'll be in Chicago as well. That this is my home city. Very different VNL this year with it expanding and it being in 3 places at once rather than 2. And there's a week off in the middle, like the week of American Independence Day. There's no VNL, which I actually like for the players' sake. I think
you mean the week of Canada Day?
No, I said what I said.
The week of Canada Day.
So we'll cover all of this in our preview videos that we'll pre-record and release over the next couple of weeks. Those are always a good way to kick off national team summer. But I assume we'll do a 9x9 next week like we normally do, to start talking about some early national team and VNL storylines. We also might do some other couple like random, more low-key streams where we just kind of open up to discussion and talk about some rosters and what we expect from some teams and keep it more chill. So it's officially national team season. Join the Volleyball Source Discord, like we said. If you know volleyball fans who are just kind of on the edge of the volleyball sphere, who you can't get them in the club, but they're more interested in national team, get them into our stuff. This is a big period for our channel and for our viewership, and it's important that you guys talk to your friends, and if they're interested in volleyball, point them our direction. We'd appreciate that.
Sounds good, everyone. Peace out. We will see you next week.
Happy summer.
Bye. That sounds like we're leaving.